So welcome you all in the today's lecture of digital signal processing. So today we will be talking about the last topic of the finite precision length errors. So before that, some student has asked some doubt that why there is a low likelihood of overflow in the case of floating point DSP processor. So first we will see that why there is a less overflow in the case of floating point as compared to the fixed point DSP processor. So we have already studied that your fixed point. So what is the major difference in fixed point and floating point? So in a floating point, basically your decimal equivalent can be written as in the form of 2's complement, right? So b naught times 2 to the power b, so where b plus 1 are the total number of bits available with us, right? And plus summation of I equals to 1 to b of I 2 to the power b minus I. So this we have already seen, right? But in case of fixed point, what we have basically, so your decimal equivalent, we know that this is nothing but 2 to the power minus q factor is extra as compared to this one, right? So this is extra actually, where q is nothing but the number of fractional bits, right? So these number of fractional bits will be have been taken out of b plus 1 bits, right? So we have total number of bits as b plus 1 including one sign bit, and out of that I have to choose that how many bits I want to give to the fraction part, right? That is the difference in fixed point. So from this equation we know that that your fixed point has some kind of structure. For example, the point is kind of fixed, right? For example, you have some integer part and you have some fraction part, right? So let's say that you have some number as some number, right? So here is the integer part and here is the fraction part. So you write that number in binary, okay? So wherever the dot is there, so dot will come same in the binary, right? So what is the meaning of that? So meaning of that is, suppose we have 8 number of bits, so we can make a justification in that, say how many bits you want to give to integer part and how many bits you want to give the fraction part, right? So when we do the addition and multiplication, we definitely get more number of bits if carry will come, right? So that is called as overflow. While in case of floating point, what we have the flexibility. So I will actually take this with one example, like why the dynamic range of floating point is huge, right? Because there is an exponent term 2 to the power something, right? So that we will see with one example, so it will be more clear to you. So first we will take an example for the case of fixed point processor. So let's take a number 1.0 or 0. So where 1 is an integer part and 0 is the fraction part. So let's say that I have 8 number of bits available with me and I want to assign those 8 bits to this particular number. So what I can do, I can assign this 4 bits to the integer part and 4 bits to the fraction part, right? So this is the number we get it, right? Now when we are doing some addition or multiplication, so let's do the addition. So let's say that I have a number 1.0, this is this one, and another number I take as 8.0. So 8.0 means the binary part is 1000 and 0 will be, this is the binary part of 0. So what will happen in this case? So in this case the integer part will get added to the integer part and fraction part will get added to the fraction part, right? Now let's say that some number is I'll take some other number, so let's take that as Now let's take somewhere here is 1 1 0 0 0, and this part let's forget, let's take only integer part right now. So another number is your 1 0 0 1. So when we add it, here we get one more extra carry bit, right? So we don't have any extra bit to store that particular extra bit, provided we don't have any extended accumulator, right? So this is called as overflow, right? So this is more often in the case of fixed point processor, right? And the same thing can happen in the carry, that fraction part also, right? Because somewhere here it is, let's say 1 and 1 in the fraction part, so in the fraction part also we will get a carry, right? So in fixed point we deal the integer part separately and the fraction part separately, right? So that is the problem we always have. So what are the two possibilities we were having? So either you truncate the extra bit, okay, or you can just do the round off, okay. So in that case we have seen that there will be a truncation error or there will be some round off error, okay. Now when we do the multiplication in case of fixed point, so in multiplication we see that, let's say that we have some number as let's say this is 0.8 and this will be 0.3, right, in decimal, and the binary we can write it as 0.1001 and 0.0011, right? So we have, let's say that we have 4 bits total, okay. So this is also 4-bit number, this is also 4-bit number. Now we want to multiply these 4 bits number, okay. So when we multiply it, we know that the resultant will be, the decimal will go actually after decimal we have some 8 numbers, so this will be some numbers, so I just allocate the this place. So we need to have, so I am not doing the calculation, so definitely we need the 8 number of bits, right, but we have only 4 bits to store, right? So here also we have overflow, okay. So that's why there is a very difficult problem as in the case of fixed point processor. So provided either you increase the number of what we call the bits, or you can have to truncate or round off the result. Now what will happen in the case of fixed floating point? So in floating point, basically the number is any number, let's say that f is the number, floating point number. So your floating point processor deals with that number f in this particular form, okay. So the form is kind of m times 2 to the power of e, where m is known as mantissa and e is some kind of exponent. Exponent means so any number it tries to convert in this particular form, okay. So what is the advantage it will get when we convert any number in this particular form? And please note that your m can be in between 1/2 to 1, okay. It can take any value between 1/2 to 1, okay. Now let's take with an example. So let's say that I forgot one thing in the last fixed point. So here like I am taking an example of a number 4. What will happen in the case of, if I take a number 4, I don't mention any decimal point, okay. So fixed point will not consider this as only 4, rather it will consider 4.0, right? So always no matter your algorithm or fixed point algorithm, consider the number as 4.0, not 4, okay, because we have already assigned some bits to the integer part and some bits to the fraction part. So fraction part will be automatically 0. Now we'll come to this example. In case of floating point, let's say that number is 4. Now how a floating point deals with the number 4, okay. So when we want to equate this number 4 by this m times 2 to the power e, and we know that m can take any value from 1/2 to 1. So let's take m value is 1/2 and 2 to the power e E can be any exponent, right? So if I want to keep it 4, so I know that if I keep the exponent as 3, so that 2 to the power 3 will be 8 divided by 2. I can get number 4. So your exponent must be 3. Okay, so if I just rewrite this 3 in the binary form, so the processor anyhow deals with the binary numbers. So processor will store this number, that is 0 1 1 1, that is exponent, and it will store this number 1 by 2. Now we'll see why this factor is in between 1 by 2 to 1, and what is the effect of this particular exponent number, right? So, and how actually it overcomes that overflow. It does not entirely overcome the overflow condition, but it substantially reduces the likelihood of overflow, because it will get huge dynamic range. That I will come to that. Now when the number given number is positive, so your Mentesa will always be positive, because it can take only in the range of 1 by 2 to 1. However, this exponent can be positive or negative. Okay. Okay, this we will study with one example. For example, I have this number 4 into 10 to the power of minus 2, and another number is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3, right? So we want to add this number. So your floating point processor cannot directly add it. So what we have to do first we have to make it the exponent same, then only it can add, right? So we have to always change the exponent for the smaller number. So which is the smaller number? So this is the smaller number. So how can I add it? So this will be sorry, okay, now it's fine. So this will be 4 into 10 to the power minus 2, and it will become 20 times 10 to the power minus, no, not 20, this is 0.2, right? This is 0.2. Okay, then we can add it. Okay. This is how a floating point operation is performed. Okay, now take another number. Let's say that we want to add two numbers. Okay, now how can I add it, and how your floating point processor will reduce the likelihood of overflow. So let's take a number, floating point number as 4 and 5 by 4. So this will be a decimal point number, right? So some fraction part will come. Now how floating point processor will actually add those two numbers. So what it will do, actually first it will convert that into Mentesa and exponent form. Okay, so what is the 4? 4 means 8 by 2. Easy, right? We have seen that 4 we can represent using 8 by 2, where exponent is 3 and Mentesa is half. So we know that your processor deals in the case of binary number. So your 1 by 2 in binary is written as this, and the 2 to the power 3, so 3 is coming as 1 1. Okay, so processor will store these two things. One is this and another is exponent. So it always keeps some numbers. Okay, so if I just, those who have not understood how I have written this number, so and provided we have 5 number of bits to represent the Mentesa, right? So here in this case we have 2 to the power minus 1, that is 1 by 2, so that's why it is half. So this will be a 2 to the power minus 2, so 0 times 2 to the power minus 2 is 0, and so on for other bits. Likewise, we can for 5 by 4 also we can write down the Mentesa and the exponent. Okay, so your exponent is coming 1, so 2 to the power 1. This will be how much? This will be half 1 by 4 and 1 by 8. So we have to add 1 by 8. So how much it is? So this will be, if you add it, it will be 5 by 8, and exponent is 1, so it is multiplied by 2. So 2 and 4 will get cancelled. I will get this number as 5 by 4. Okay, so in this particular case your Mentesa is this part, okay, and exponent is this part, and in this case Mentesa is this one and exponent is this one. Now when you want to add these two numbers in a floating point processor, okay, so I cannot add it since the exponent is not same. So what I can do, I have to modify the exponent. Okay, so which one I will modify? Obviously the smaller one. Okay, so I have to modify the f2. So here my new f2 is, so this will be same, yeah, so this will be 2 to the power 1 1, right, because I have to make the exponent same. So 2 to the power 1 1 means it's a 3, 1 1 means 3, 3 means it is 8. Now I have to multiply some number. Okay, this will be some number, what should be the number, so that I can get back this original number, because original number should not change, right, because we want to represent 5 by 4 using this Mentesa and the exponent, right. So how can I represent this number? So what should come in this particular case? So I just write it this one. So what is this? This is nothing but, so this will be half 1 by 4, so this will be 1 by 8, others are 0, so this will be 1 by 16 and it will be 1 by 32. So if you add it, you will get and multiply by 8, so you will get this back, this number. Okay, now if you compare f2 and f2 new, sorry, yeah, so if I compare the f2 and f2 new, so this is your f2 and this is your f2 new. So if you see, I am going from exponent 1 to exponent 3, so I just shifted how many times? 2 times. Okay, 1 2 3. So that means your bits are also shifted. If you see that this 101 is kind of shifted and 200 has come here. Okay, if you don't shift it like this, you will not get back your number back as 5 by 4. Now in this particular case, I have exponent same for this and f1, so I can just simply add it. So I'll keep the exponent outside and Mentesa I will add it, so I'll get particularly this Mentesa. So if you just find out the decimal equivalent of this Mentesa, so we know that the decimal equivalent is definitely between 1 by 2 to 1 by 8. Okay, because 1 by 2 you are adding something, so definitely it will be in this particular range. So we have to ensure this. Okay, let's say that you don't have the Mentesa in this range. So what you can do, you have to modify the exponent again, okay, for the other number also f1, so that both will come in this particular range. Okay, so m must be in this particular range, so I can bring it m in this range by changing the exponent, and exponent anyhow can take positive or negative values, so that we get it, by doing these two things, by changing the exponent and Mentesa, we are seeing that we have huge dynamic range, because whatever the number is there, let's say that I have 2 bits to represent the Mentesa, okay, sorry, the exponent. Okay, so I have how many possibilities? I have 2 to the power 0 to 2 to the power 3, right? So how many possibilities? We have 8 possibilities, right? Plus the Mentesa, like so many permutation combination are possible. Okay, so the dynamic range is high. Now you think of when we increase the bits in exponent one more time. Okay, now I can represent this exponent by 3 bits now, so I will get a very huge dynamic range, right? So that's why it is providing a low likelihood of overflow. I hope now it is clear. Now we will start with the last topic of your finite precision in DSP. So that is known as limit cycle, or it is sometimes known as limit cycle oscillation. Okay, so what is that actually? So it is occurring basically in the IIR filter. So let's take with the first order IIR filter. So your first order IIR filter is very simple. So this is one pole, right? So A is the pole and followed by a delay, right? So the output y of n can be written as a times y of n minus 1 plus x of n, where x of n is the input, right? So when we implement in the hardware, definitely we have to quantize it, right? Because we are dealing with a just finite numbers, right? We are limited bits, so we have to definitely quantize. So your output will also be quantized. So I am denoting it by y dash of n. So this is a modified output. So this is not the actual output. So which thing will be quantized? So we have to quantize the coefficients, right? And whatever the number is coming here, y of n minus 1, that is also quantized, right? So I just write it as a modified y of n minus 1 multiplied by a, so that we have to quantize. So we know that quantize is a nonlinear operation, plus x of n. Okay, so x of n is also we have to represent with finite number of bits, right? Now let's take x of n is like this, where x of n is defined as n equals to 0, and the value of this at n equals to 0 is 0.875, and other n's basically it is simply 0, right? Now let's take that a coefficient is also minus half. Okay, so so we can write it as also minus 0.5 also. Okay, now one more thing, we will assume that we have finite word length of 4 bits, where 3 bits are to represent the numbers and 1 bit is your sign bit, right? Word length is essentially nothing but the number of bits we have to represent a word. Okay, now what will happen at n equals to 0? So we will take for different values of n. So n equals to 0, we have xn non-zero value, right? And we assume that initial condition is 0. So when initial condition is 0, what will happen? Your y of n minus 1 is simply 0, and if you multiply any number by 0, your output will also be 0. So 0 will be in decimal. Since the processor deals everything in the binary, so we have to also talk about binary numbers, right? So we have how many bits? We have 4 number of bits. Okay, and that includes your sign bit as well. So so here the binary we can write it as 0.0000, right? So 4 bits we are entirely giving to the this part. Okay, sorry. So yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, we have 3 bits only to represent. One is anyhow the sign bit, right? So here it is the number before quantization. Now when we quantize it, what will happen? We have 3 bits to represent, and you know that 1 bit is representing your, it is plus or minus, right? If it is number is positive, then it will be 0. If number is negative, this will be 1, right? Okay, so yeah, so you can ask why it is not considering integer, because we know that most of the time we take the coefficient value as less than 1, because to design a stable filter, right? Because the pole should be inside the unit circle, right? So when we deal with the filters, most of the time this will be less than 1, right? Now what is happening here, since we have only 3 bits to represent, and here we have 4 bits. Now what can we do actually? So we can do two things. Either we have to truncate it, or we have to round off. Okay, so let's say that I am rounding off. Okay, so the next bit is 0, so even if I round off, your it will be simply 3 times 0, and in decimal also it will be simply 0. So you will not understand why why actually I wrote it like this. Okay, but this is very important in the coming case. We will see the next slide. So what will be the output, the modified output or quantized output? So that is nothing but you add 0 plus this particular number, so you will get 0.875. Now for n equals to 1 case, your input is 0. This will be the initial condition is the previous output, right? Because now this is your initial condition, we have some memory, right? And now your input, since your input is 0, okay, so we see that what is the output in this particular case? Is it getting 0 or it is still showing some stored value, right? So this will be non-quantized output, right? So if you multiply a is your half minus half, okay, and y of n minus 1 is 0.875, so you multiply by minus half, so you will get this number minus 0.475 in the decimal. And you see that since there is a minus sign here, so here it is 1, that is sign bit, and this will be 0.111. so please note that this is your unquantized output. Now when you quantize it, what will happen? This we have to truncate, so we have to consider the binary one. So what is happening in this case? The next bit is 1, the previous bit is also 1, so we can round off this one. So even if you round off, you will get 1.001 because this is your sign bit and 3 bits are remaining for your the fraction part, okay. So since this is your binary, so your decimal will change if you compare this with this one, okay, because now we have truncated it. So this one is denoting your sign bit, that is minus, and this is how much? 0.01 is this is 0.011 is 0.375 in decimal. This is very easy to calculate. So this will be 1 by 4 plus 1 by 8. So you will add it, you will get this particular number. So your output, quantized output is this, right? So please note that even if the input is 0, the output is non-zero, okay. Now we will see this for n equals to 2 case. So when n is equals to 2, your xn is still 0 because xn was defined only at n equals to 0. So what will be your a times y of n minus 1? So that will be half times that previous number. So that is how much? So 0.1875 because if you multiply 0.375 by half minus half, so you will get positive number now. So this will be the decimal one. So if I write the binary equivalent of this, so your binary equivalent is 0. This will be 0011. So this will be your binary one. So now if I write the quantized output, so that will be a times y of n minus 1. So what you have to do in this case? I think this is not required here. Okay. Now you have to round off this one. So if you round it off, what will you get? 0.001. Okay, this is your binary, and your decimal equivalent will be 0.125. Okay, so what will the final output? Y dash of n, that is nothing but 0.125. Okay, so 0. I think there is some problem in the pan. Let me check this. Okay, now it's fine. Yeah, so this is your 0.125. Now if you solve it for n equals to 3, what will you get? I'll just directly write the output. So your y dash of n will be minus 0.125. For n equals to 4, your output will be y dash of n, that is nothing but again positive 125, and for n equals to 5, I get as y dash of n, that is minus 0.125. So if I compare it, what is happening? Here n equals to 2, positive 125, it is negative 0.125, then again positive 125, then again negative 125. So what is happening here? If I just draw it, just draw this structure of y dash of n. So at n equals to 0, we are getting 0.875, and n equals to 1, it is minus 0.375, and n equals to 2, it is 0.125, and n equals to, this is n equals to 1, this is n equals to 2, this is n equals to 3, this is minus 0.125, and again it is 0.125, again it is minus 0.125. so what is happening, if you see this thing, even the output is 0, even the output is 0, sorry, even the input is 0, right? So even the input is 0, right? So what is happening, I am not giving any input to the filter, IR filter, still it is still the output is oscillating, output is oscillating between some numbers, right? So that number is 0.125, right? It is kind of oscillating. Even if you compute the higher n, what is happening, your output is still fluctuating between minus 125 and 125, okay? And this is called as limit cycle oscillation, okay? This is called as limit cycle oscillation, okay? So this is our last topic for the DSP, right? For the finite precision errors in the case of